Today I'm checking out this Simpure whole home water filter. It's a 3-stage water filter, as you can see by this little illustration here. We are going to be installing this in our RV, mainly because, as you go to different RV parks, you go to different cities' water systems, and some of them just aren't the greatest. So we're putting in this very thorough water system here, so that way we make sure the water going to the RV is as clean as it can be. All right, and this is what you're going to get in the box. So these are the filter chambers here. And as you can see, there's 3 of them. When you first pull it out of the box, you actually have to take these canisters off because the filters are actually inside of there and they're not ready to use. They're actually still sealed in plastic. So you need to pull all of this plastic off before you use them. And, that's just showing that they're still sealed and clean and brand new. But to save on packaging, they were able to just put them in those canisters and you're good to go. Now, when you do take off these canisters, they might be a little snug, but that is because they do have 2 O-rings. I like that. It's not just one O-ring to seal it. You've got a double barrier here to help reduce any kind of leaking, which is very important, especially in an RV. If it leaked or anything like that, you'd get water in the floor and have problems. But this has a double O-ring system to help prevent any of those leaks. So I really like that. This clear one is for the sediment filter, which is the very first one here. These will be in the right order when you open them up, it looks like. But this one is clear for the sediment filter, so you can see if there's any sediment in the water that's building up in that. Then these 2 blue ones here are for these other 2 filters. It does come with a tool right here to help you get these off because, again, with the double O-rings, these are on pretty snug, so this tool is very helpful to get it off. This is a little guide here to help you line up where you want to put the screws on the wall to help hold it. But one of the other things I really liked about this system is it comes in this metal frame here. So in an RV, a lot of times, especially in the lower areas where we want to mount it, it's got very thin walls and they're not really meant to be any kind of load-bearing walls. They're just there to kind of separate compartments. They're not really there to hold anything. So the fact that this actually has its own frame to hold the filters and everything in there the way it needs to be, and then it can just sit down on the floor, that takes all of the weight off of any of the screws that are actually attached to the wall. So the screws attached to the wall, which I will do, but those like this here on the little screw hole, those in my case will just be there to kind of hold it steady and still. It won't put all of the weight of all of these filters and then filled up with water and everything just on these screw holes because it's got this nice frame here on it. So I really appreciate that they did that. These are the little feet pieces that go into the bottom parts of the frame. It comes with 3 oil-filled gauges. Now that's important too because with the oil-filled gauges, they're less likely to freeze up on you and stop working. So these are higher quality gauges. They're already threaded for you right here. You just need to put these in. It comes with 3 of these, so that way you can determine where the pressure is building up in your system to know which filter that you need to replace. So they're not saying, hey, you have to replace these, just on a certain amount of time. You actually have gauges to show you which ones are clogging up and which ones are building up pressure, so you know which one of the filters are getting dirty. And then, of course, it comes with this bag with some more thread tape in it and some screws to mount it, some extra caps for the relief valves on the top, and then, of course, the manual that's going to walk you through everything that you need to know to get this set up. So here on top, this is where the gauges go. They go into these little threaded spots here, and then these are the little relief valves here that you can press to give relief to those canisters, mainly when you're trying to take them off. If it's full of pressure when you're trying to unscrew one of these canisters, you're gonna have a really hard time getting it off, but a lot of times you can just pop one of these. It lets a little bit of pressure out of them, makes it a lot easier to take these off. So I'm gonna get all of this stuff ready to prepare to get installed, and then we're gonna check it out in the RV. All right, so now let me show you what I've done here and why I've done it. So the input for the water connection for our RV is here. Normally the hose comes up through this hole here and just goes right into this inlet connection. So what I did, because I like to test anything that I'm going to install permanently, I test it first. So I like to test everything before I put it into its permanent position, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. So I ran a hose here up into, this little inlet that we have here. This is an RV filter that's already in here. It does okay, but I'm gonna still use it because I'm just really crazy about having clean water. But we have that installed in there. Then we have that coming down back here, and I have basically a fitting set up like this on the other side for that hose. I test everything first, and so far it's perfect. It's working great. This is coming in. As you can see, we've got pressure on our gauges. I do have this port that connects into the RV. The water spigot port has a pressure regulator on it for 40 psi, and that's kind of what you see here is almost 40. Then I have another pressure regulator that I always keep with the RV, and I believe this one brings it down to 25 psi. But dual pressure regulators on this setup because, again, I don't want to have any problems with my water. But that is one of the reasons you see 40 psi here, is because that's the pressure that's coming through and it's not being affected. As you can see, all of them are the same. Good, clean filters, brand new and working. But yeah, so this is full of water now. All three chambers are full of water. I watched this fill up. Again, this is the sediment filter. So as things flow through here, you'll literally see it collecting out here on this outside part of the sediment filter. A sediment filter is basically collecting any of the larger particles that you would have in your water. And this, I believe, goes down to 5 microns. So it's going to pull even the smallest bit of minerals or dirt or anything that could be in the water in here. So let's say you hook up to an RV connection and maybe even the hose bib is dirty a little bit. There's a little bit of dirt that got in there. You don't have to worry about that dirt getting in through all of the filters because it's going to get caught in this first filter. But yeah, so far so good. This thing has done well, and the water pressure has not changed on the inside. It's got a good flow. A few more things I want to note is, one, this is a 1-inch connection on each end. That's important. So let's say we were installing this in our home. We would want to use the largest fittings possible. So basically the flow in your house is going to be restricted by the smallest, fitting or hose that you have for the water coming in. If you have 1-inch water pipes coming into your house, which we do, and you installed a water filtration system like this that had, say, a 3/4 inch fitting, well, then you would reduce the flow of water into your home, and now you have less flow. So you want to keep the fittings as big as they can be, and don't use anything smaller than the smallest fitting in your system. So our system here, of course, is an RV, so it's got regular 3/4 inch hose bibs on it. So I reduced this down to 3/4 inch, but I wouldn't want to reduce it down smaller, because if I went any smaller, then I'd be reducing the flow into the RV. They are brass fittings also, so that's very important. That helps reduce any kind of corrosion. In this case, I have this PVC connecting, but on the PEX install that I do, it's going to be a brass connection with a PEX connector. So all of that's going to be good, and I won't have to worry so much about corrosion around these fittings. All right. Very happy to have the system in. I think I'm ready to go. Everything is hooked up. The water's running fine, but I am very happy to have the extra filtration, because like I said, you just never know what you're connecting to when you go to these different parks. All right. Well, I hope this video was helpful. Thank y'all very much for watching. Y'all take care.